we go to ulum, let's say asbab, we go ulum al-tafsir, we go all kinds of naskh. There are all kinds of subsets of ulum, right? Sunnah Sharifa also has different subsets in it, such as ulum al-sira wal-shama'il, ilm al-hadith, etc., etc., ilm al-hadith Sharif, all that under Sunnah. Al-Aqidah, obviously, Islamic or creed, and creed means, all right, so what is our creed versus other creed, Islamic sects, etc., etc. And ulum al-fiqh is how to worship. Those are considered essential sciences. Essential sciences. You have to know them if you're a scholar on a basic level, knowing them on a basic level. What are the supplemental sciences? Well, the supplemental sciences are three. One, ilm al-usul, which is the science of legal theory. Science of legal theory. What do you mean legal theory? Okay, so for example, you ask me, is doing a niyyah, is having a niyyah before, at the time the first drop of water touches your forehead, at that point, bringing a niyyah in your heart of wudu, is it obligatory in the Shafi'i versus the Hanafi? I say it is. What if you don't make that niyyah? Then your wudu is not right. So what did I tell you now? I told you what? I told you that you have to have a niyyah. You asked me right at the second where the drop of water touches your forehead, not before, not after, right? If you're a Shafi'i. Well, that's a fiqh. Usul fiqh is, how did I come to that conclusion? What's the legal theory behind it? What's the scientific methodology behind it? Right? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the usul of that is the prophetic hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Deeds are judged by intentions. You want to make wudu, well, it's judged or hinges on your niyyah. The beginning of wudu is when the water touches the face. Hence, your niyyah must start exactly at that point. That's my legal theory. That's ilm al-usul. We're going to study that, but I'm just trying to introduce you to the difference between fiqh and usul al-fiqh. Are we on the same page? If you don't understand, you need to raise your hand and question me. All right. We have another ilm in the supplemental or complemental. It's called ilm al-lugha al-arabiyya, the Arabic language. Now, is it important to know the Arabic language to be a Muslim? No. To be a good Muslim? No. Is it important? Can you be a good Muslim being Russian? Yes. Is it important to know the Arabic language if you want to be a scholar? Of course. Do we understand each other? Very nice. Why? Well, because the two usul, or the two foundations we have, are all in the Arabic language. Al-Quran al-Karim is in the Arabic language. As-Sunnah Sharifa is in the Arabic language. Without knowing the Arabic language, you will not know the ways that Allah Ta'ala revealed the Quran in, as far as the linguistic aspect is concerned. Now, when I say knowing the Arabic language, I don't mean being a native speaker of the Arabic language, or the ability to converse for non-Arabs in Arabic. Absolutely not. That's not what I mean. I mean by knowing the Arabic language, knowing its absolute knowledge, which is ulum al-bayan. So every single one of these things have different subsets behind them, right? Al-bayan, right? طبعا علوم البلاغة, al-badi'. So we have different sets, علوم البيان, علوم البلاغة, علوم البديع, etc., etc. Right? All these things that we know them. This way we have understanding of the Arabic language, the sentence construct, why, where, and which is more eloquent. There is difference. It's not simply the ability to read or understand, let alone to converse in the language. It's just a science like any other science. Do we understand that? Okay. We have also another set of ilm here, is that tarikh was siyar. So, history, Muslim history or history. I don't like to say Islamic history, I like to say Muslim history. Because Islamic becomes a bit problematic. Then I'm conferring Islam on history versus Muslim history. There's good, there's not so good sometimes. Muslims are human beings, right? So we know our history and biographies. Now all these 7 different disciplines constitute what we call Islamic studies in general. Islamic studies in general. These subsets of sciences, all right, or these disciplines. And every discipline has multiple subsets. I mean, some of them have 10, 20 subsets of different specializations where people specialize all their life in just one. Do we understand each other? All right, and that's important. Why? Because sometimes we belittle things, you know, because we think that we can just go to study for 5 years and that makes us, or 10 years and makes us scholars, right? So if I was to tell you somebody has a PhD, what's your next question almost immediately? Huh? In what? I tell you in everything. How about that? You start laughing at me? That's exactly what I do when someone tells me I know all the sciences. Do we understand each other? Somebody tells me I know. Sure you do. You don't know anything. That's what it means. Nobody knows says I know. And nobody knows all of them on a scholarly level. I have not met anyone in my life who knows all these sciences on a scholarly level entirely, meaning on beyond the scholarly level. So what do? So we have students of knowledge, right? And students, PhD is probably a beginning level of students of knowledge. I'm not trying to make it beyond the scene. I'm telling you exactly the reality because I see some people are having grins on their mouth. They think I'm just joking. I'm not joking. A PhD is about what? 4 years bachelor, 2 years master, another 3, 4 years. So about 10 years. Yeah. You're just getting your feet wet. You're a student. I'm not calling you a scholar just because you have a PhD. You're not a scholar yet. Right? I used to be in hiring committees for the University of Georgia. Somebody comes with a PhD. I don't consider him a scholar. What's your research in, son? What did you do? What's your post-PhD research in? I mean, what did you do? Which science did you actually specialize in? And what's your subspecialty in that? And what's your research? And once you do that, you hire them as instructor first, maybe. Then assistant professor, associate professor, right, etc., etc. You don't hire, they're not professors yet. They're not scholars yet. It takes them years of work to become a professor. Doesn't it, Maulana Asghar, who's doing, mashallah, a wonderful job, but except he's not doing it full-time yet. So I'm hoping that he does sometime soon. Because it doesn't work. You can't love 2 people at the same time in 2 different hearts. ما جعل الله لرجل من قلبين في جوفه. A committed student at this level becomes a scholar, sure. Right? A student eventually, that person who became a teacher at the university eventually becomes a professor after many years of what? Research, active research in the same subject becomes a scholar. You can say so and so now as a scholar of this, in this discipline. Are we on the same page? After scholarship, you go to mastery. So and so is a master in this issue. You go an expert maybe, and then you go to authority. And that's in one discipline versus others. Do we understand each other here? I have not met anyone who is an authority in any of these things, except maybe partial in my life, in the whole world. And there may be some people, but I don't know them. Authorities, I'm speaking like Abu Hanifa, Al-Shafi'i, Al-Bukhari, Muslim, people like that, people of that caliber. Do we have people on this level, scholarly level? Yes, not many. Not many. Do we have people on this level? Yeah, more. Where are we? Right here. Yeah, we're wannabe students. Right? We want to be at this level. Some of us want to, some of us don't even want to be. All right. Just so we understand, so we don't also belittle and we take our things less than what they really are, right? When someone says, I'm a scholar, the first thing I ask, you are here already at this level? Must be what took you 10 years to get this level, let's say, equivalent of that, and maybe another, maybe 10 to get from this level to this level. In the same field, what are you a scholar in? And what have you contributed to scholarship that was not there? Or articulated in scholarship that was not articulated before? Because scholarship doesn't mean the regurgitation of memorized information. Scholarship means understanding the scholarship and specializing in one thing where you've added to scholarship or articulated in a way that was not done before. Do we understand each other? Very important. Okay. With this, Al-Imam Tahawi rahimahullah ta'ala was a faqih. Faqih means a scholar in fiqh. And so he was a scholar in one discipline. You can actually argue that he was a master in it. Not an authority, but between scholarship and mastery, probably closer to mastery, rahimahullah. But he was not only that. He was also a hafidh. Hafidh means what? Huh? Huh? No. A title of hafidh, when you say someone is hafidh, what do you mean in academia? When you say someone is al-hafidh, what do we mean in academia, in Islamic circles? What do we mean by that? Someone is hafidh, what do we say? What does that mean? Huh? Of what? Whatever? No. That's the answer to that is whatever. Memorizer of the prophetic hadith. We mean by that prophetic hadith mastership. Someone who is at a mastership level here in the science of the al-hadith sharif, the prophetic hadith, is then called hafidh or al-imam al-hafidh or al-hafidh. Well, Imam al-Tahawi was hafidh in hadith. That's a big level. And the strange or the interesting thing is that he's combining mastery in two disciplines, which is not very usual for human beings. You either have to be, that claim of having interdisciplinary mastership is either an insane claim or someone who's extremely genius. And this man was like that. So he was faqih and he was a hafiz in the sciences of hadith. But he also did what? He also wrote texts in aqidah, or a text in aqidah. So he adds now scholarship in another level or another discipline. So we have some scholar here that we're looking at. His text is interdisciplinary, and he died 321 of Hijrah. That's early. Remember the hadith that speaks about the first century, the best people are in the first century, and those who follow them and those who follow them? You've heard that hadith before? Well, he's in that 3 centuries, first 3 centuries. So that gives him an extra sort of presence because of his scholarship and where he was. Today, we are 1440. He was 321. Now, he wrote a text called, or a text in Aqidah. We called it Al-Aqidah Al-Tahawiyah. He didn't call it that way. It's just a text of Aqidah he wrote. But what's interesting about the text of Aqidah that he wrote is what As-Subki and other scholars that came after him said. And they said that the text of Al-Tahawi is agreed upon by all Sunni Muslims, or by Muslims of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah everywhere, with no disagreement. The beauty of the text of Imam Tahawi is this. It is the first text in Aqidah ever written by a scholar of Islam that is authenticated to him